All right. We are really close.
Any minute now.
Yes. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. RT here with Hxro Labs, and Nick is back.
I'm back. Hello. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to have you back, brother. And lots to talk about today. Bitcoin has made a big move up.
Yep. It's about time.
Less in the intensity of the move because it hasn't necessarily, gone full Chad with a 1K candle, but it's breaking through some you and everybody else. We've got Jones here. What's up, Jones? Good to have you on. And let's see else we have on TradingView. Good. All right. Seeing a big old screen share on TradingView. And I don't know. You got your screen share going on. You have almost the exact same level on yours as mine. Hey, we got Roman. Welcome. Good to have you. And let's see. Well, we let the crowd gather so that we can have chimed in last week. He said, dude, you're going to have to explain a little better what you're talking about because it is way over my head. So if you guys ever run into that today on stream, please be sure to ask. If you're unsure about anything we say, any of this stuff, don't be shy. Ask away.
We usually have answers. Usually.
Yep. Yeah. Hopefully he should be able to tell you what the hell we're talking about.
Are we ready to dive into it?
Yeah. Let's flip over to your screen, Nick, and you can take us through what you're seeing in the majors. I was on all last week sharing all my ideas. I'd like to hear from you today. What do you got?
Yeah. So, we've been following this bullish Bitcoin trend for quite a while here. Some really clean market action, just constantly busting through these resistant levels. The first signal to get long on here and that we've been seeing a early trend change was that 10.5 break. We did have some wicks down to retest it. We didn't spend too much time down there, but gap filled. We'll check it off the box. For the past week, we've been kind of hovering around that 11.5, 12K level. Today was finally the day this morning that we busted through it. Now, there's a lot of open air up here, and this is what everybody's probably looking for. But right now, first, we're going to be coming into this 13.2, 13.3 resistance level. There's even slight resistance here at 12.3, 12.4. It's minor, it's just wicks, so you can't give it too much weight. But what we are going to be giving a lot of weight is, again, this 13,000 up to 13.3 region. This is the weekly time frame, so you can see this level, supported quite a bit. Well, tried to back in 2017. Obviously, it fell through. Never even retested it. Last year, same thing here. It proved to be our resistance. So that's why we are dictating that this is going to also be another similarly tough level to break. I think we're going to probably see some wicks into here. And if we do fail there, there's still so much support coming back down here, all the way down to 10.5. So we'd probably be looking for, 11.4, 11.7 support again. If we do come up here, something like this is what I'd be thinking. Actually, I'm going to bring this down to a daily time frame so you get a little bit more better picture. There we go. All I'm using for this, by the way, is just light shot. It's a great little thing. So what we're looking for here, you got a range high. So if price could go there, sweep it, and come back down here, it could be a really deep explosive move back down, but as long as it builds a base right around here, and then it could go off and take it. This is probably the most bullish market structure that I could see, or it could just fucking straight up. That's typically not as healthy because it creates big gaps, which eventually do get filled. So the higher the velocity of the move without a retrace, the more severe of the velocity back down to retest that level and confirm support. So this W formation is kind of what we're going to be looking for, with eyes on that 13.5, 13.6 level to possibly sweep these highs from last summer right there. So that's kind of what we're thinking on Bitcoin. Again, as long as we hold these range lows here, down to 11,000, 11,400, I think this looks pretty good. It was a pretty high momentum breakout, basically driven by spot. Quickly moving to the Coinbase chart here, you can see that, probably plus 10,000 Bitcoin. Again, it's kind of hit that weekly level. So what we're going to be looking for now on an intraday time frame. So all you need to do, we'll delete those lines to make it a little bit more clear for you guys. All you need to do, take the former highs, and you can be a little bit liberal with it. This entire area, if we see a retest back down to that 11.9 level, and that holds the support, that's going to be confirmation for me that we will see a move higher off that level. So if we can just build a little consolidation base off these former highs, market structure-wise, that's probably going to be the most bullish thing that we could see. It's that staircase ladder that we're looking for. So that pretty much covers Bitcoin right now. Obviously, this is going to have a detrimental effect on some of the mid-cap alts. We've kind of already seen that with XTZ and stuff. But moving over to the other big boy, Coinbase on Ethereum, it was actually pretty slow to move after Bitcoin. So there was an easy trade to be had there, since the two are often pretty much correlated. But when you see this, so if, for example, if Ethereum moves pretty swiftly, Bitcoin's kind of lagging behind, gives you an opportunity to get in position on Bitcoin if you aren't always. And inversely, it's the same thing. If you see Bitcoin move first, odds are Ethereum's going to be following it shortly after. There was about a 15-minute delay, so there's plenty of time. Ethereum, same thing here. Actually, we'll take this to the chart, give you a better picture. So Ethereum's coming into a major resistance level here, actually. We've been eyeing this 450 level for quite a while, came very close to tapping it. Why we like this level is, this was the launch point for that final parabolic move of Ethereum back in November 2017. Tried to prove its support a couple times, consolidation, and was also the breaker when she finally broke down to go retest the 100. So we're expecting some price reaction here. If it does blast through, well, the target's obviously 550. It's the next big weekly level. If we're not able to blast through this level, what we're going to be looking for is to continually just staircase step up this horizontal support. So we'd be looking for something like this. Maybe you can go test the neckline, back down. I don't think it's going to go back down this far, to be honest. Like that 360 level here, it's pretty pivotal, but it's already proven itself I think 3 or 4 times off that previous range. So we're probably going to be looking for that 400 level to hold. Get a better picture of that, of why we like that level. If you take it down to a 4-hour time frame, there you go. So again, the 360 level, the former all-time highs, we had 3 support off that. Good enough for me. The higher low, and then there she went. So what we're going to be looking for now, it's kind of already testing it as well. That the Wyckoff theory says resistance must be tested for support. We'll zoom it in here to give you a better picture of that. That's exactly what's happening here, right? So we're going to be looking. Yeah, like that, and that's just summarizes this market for the past few weeks, just bullish throwback after bullish throwback. So just really easy trading on this market. So basically, you could set an alarm at this low, it's 412, and an alarm at the high. I can't really advise taking any positions right here. Why? Well, it's basically resistance within a couple percent or 1.5% or something. Why take the risk here when you can just wait for confirmation, right, and capture the actual expansion move up to the 550. So again, as long as this level holds, all good. If this fails, high probability, very high probability that the market would come back down to the 360 level at a very minimum. The great thing about this is that so far there's been no high time frame bear divs or anything. Let's quickly take a look at the skew charts as well. So what we want to illustrate here is the contango that we've been seeing in the futures. Contango is basically when the quarterlies or any futures product trades at a premium versus the spot. What it indicates is a bullish bias in the market, and inversely, if futures are trading at a negative premium, then the market is it's predicting that there's going to be more of a long-term downtrend. But right now, you can get that thought out of the head. Typically, there's no reason to really be scared at these percentages. We're hovering around 20% right now. Market tops, generally get put in between 22, 24%. Looking back, for the past 3 years, that's what the data says. So we're not quite there yet. Funding rates are pretty, they're spiking a little bit today, which is natural, but for the most part, they're pretty flat. So I think there's a lot more juice in this rally. It's very slow and steady. We're not just having that parabolic advance right now of what would be indicative of a soon-to-be blow off top. So this looks really healthy to me. And if we take a quick look at Ethereum, you're going to see the exact same thing. It's just a really healthy futures market right now. We're sitting in contango as well in these things, sitting around 20%. So Ethereum, it's a little bit more volatile than Bitcoin. So contango on the premium can run up to 30, 32% before I would be even getting worried on this stuff. In terms of like swap fees on the perps products, Ethereum fees are generally higher, especially on BitMEX historically. So yeah, funding rates are a little bit elevated there, but it's nothing out of the norm for that product right now. And obviously, the OI, it's fine. It's under $210 million right now. So everything looks pretty healthy. The market doesn't really look that over leveraged or anything. Quickly look back one more on the Bitcoin futures just to make sure that's an accurate statement for Bitcoin. Yeah, looks okay. So Bitcoin OI, obviously, it's rising more sharply than Ethereum right now. That's okay. Not too much on the liquidation side, which shows people being a little bit more cautious with shorting this. And that's something that we said prior is that when we have these high time frame, high momentum breakouts after these long tight consolidation periods, they're not moves you want to be fading. There's a lot of momentum pent up in these things. So until we start seeing those future premiums, 25, 30%, and the funding rates spiking, this looks fine. This looks super healthy to me right now.
Beginning of a major breakout, and that's what I wanted to talk about today. Not 100% that my audio is getting it live right now, so let's flip back to the double shot here. So here we are, Bitcoin just breaking out. I'm going to pull up my chart, very much in alignment with Nick's. And just a quick shout out to anyone who is out there rushing to short. Of course, I always encourage you to follow your own plan. So if your plan says short the bull, then try it out. Hopefully you vetted that. It's risky.
Good luck.
Yeah. So let's flip over to my screen share here. I've got a slightly different view of Bitcoin. Obviously still very bullish. So on the Gann square here, you can see we've just broken through this 45 line. Now, actually, let's hide this for a quick sec. I had an interesting conversation with actually Nick Core last night. We were in the Discord on their voice chat, and we were talking about this idea that perhaps this coronavirus panic, this retest, it satisfied a lot of technicals. So you can say it was caused by one thing. A lot of technical traders are like, haha, I was waiting for this 88.6 to come in and sort of clean up this little breakout here. But at the end of the day, we've just come right back in and resumed this trend that arguably, never just took a bit of a pause. So what a shakeout. Really makes me think, feel confident about this being sort of a bottom in this downward trend. We've got our bullish structure breakout, and we just broke through these highs actually 2 weeks ago now. And as you can see, the technicians are satisfied that this is a bull, and the volume is starting to pick up again on the buy side. No signs of divergence, OBV reaching new highs. And an extension drawn off this first move gives us nice, juicy price targets right up in the 14.5 to 15.7 level. And a chaos PRZ drawn off this little consolidation here, something we've been talking about on Friday, Nick, is that this can then explode, that energy pent up here, this consolidation, pushing the next big impulse up to even as high as 16.3, which would be starting to rival the previous highs. And this is a time when I would start thinking, okay, what does our short RLZ look like of the entire bear market? What is that sort of area where we should expect some big resistance pre? And as you can see here, it lines up really nicely with this whole area. So I've got a ton of location objectives up there. And I just don't have any reason right now to be trying to short this after just, a week or two into breaking out of this. And we haven't seen any real acceleration. I mean, this was a pretty strong move, consolidated, right? But this is not parabolic, like you said, right? We haven't seen any spiking funding rates. We haven't seen any of those things that typically mark sort of an oversaturated buy side where it needs to cool down. So I see no reason on the Bitcoin side of things to be starting to ramp up shorting activity right now. What I do see is a potential bullish engulfing on the Bitcoin dominance chart. Now, you can debate with a lot of different people exactly what constitutes a bullish engulfing. My trade mentor actually would tell me this is not, that in fact the body for this has to eat up the entire wicks of the previous. So already that would be invalidated. Me personally, and a number of other traders as well, we'll just say, okay, if this candle body completely engulfs this candle body, ignoring the wicks, that would satisfy it. And so as far as trying to find, maybe spotting some early signs that this might be a reversal for the alt rallies we've been seeing, I'm very happy to catch that kind of a trend reversal, because we have been trending down in dominance. If this is going to reverse, there's a few different ways you could look for confirmation of that. So I'll show you here. The obvious one, you get a low, we come up, make a little high, we put in a higher low, and then we break that, and then the trend is reversed. We're back into a risk-off window. But waiting for all this, of course, could take weeks. It could take a lot back from you if you are balls deep in altcoins, which I think a lot of people are at this point.
Yeah.
Raise your hand here if you're over 85% exposed to altcoins, right? Like, not me. Thankfully, I reduced a lot this weekend, mostly because I just wanted to kind of reset a few things, and I kind of caught myself a little overboard with exposure and sometimes even without a proper setup. And then I saw, Bitcoin banging on the door at 12K. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to reset here. And it did break out this morning. So I'm pretty thankful to be, I don't have it up right in front of me, but I think about, down to about 30, 35% exposure to altcoins. And then, there's some I'm not really rushing to cut because, again, this is just one candle. But if Bitcoin is going to launch up into this area over the next week or two, I do not expect altcoins to keep up with it, right out of the gates.
People like to chase the majors, especially Bitcoin.
Yeah. I mean, the initial will be like those algo dumps where, like, the second Bitcoin breaks, you just see like a 15% drop on everything because algos are just triggering sells. And then, you get the first round of dip buyers, so it doesn't crash right away. And then it bounces up a bit, maybe a bearish retest. And then, the next move down more and more until eventually, so again, I'm not going to call tops on altcoins just yet, but I am absolutely on high alert for this to be a reversal in the trend we've been seeing. Because, look, as much as we think the market is fun and it's been paying us lately and it's great, the market's job is to take every single dollar it can from you every single moment of every single day. All right, that's how you got to think. That's how you got to assume the market is acting. So as soon as the paradigm, which is right now, is long altcoins, we're in a bull, this is going crazy. It's, the easiest thing in the world. Only idiots in this market are the ones selling their alts. Well, as soon as that becomes the status quo, you've got to start thinking, okay, well, what's next? And we've been talking about it in general. Like, yes, dominance could fall off a cliff here. And in many ways, I hope it does, because I'm, one trigger away from being right back into alts. However, we have now seen an 88-day risk-on window. It's a long one. And I think it makes a lot of sense with what Bitcoin is showing us right here, for us to really cool that off. And so today I want to talk about what that will look like in a few coins, and less about, if that's coming, or you can plan as if that is coming, you can actually make money on that, and you can end up with some really nice entries in altcoins that you love for the next time that they're sexy. And as of right now, they are still sexy. So I'm not calling off any parties yet, but there is a number of coins. I'll pick up an example, ADA. Picking on ADA because I actually really liked it at this level last night. I actually did long it, and then I closed it. That was actually one of the closes I made this morning. Took a small hit because I just, in a with Bitcoin, had Bitcoin rolled over at that range high. And I suppose I'll just show that range high now so that we all know what I'm talking about here on the 4-hour. So this is what I was watching, right? We had the bearish market structure. We came down into the RLZ. We pushed back up. Short RLZ was here. And so this is what my Sunday night was watching this. And how this resolved is how I was going to decide to position myself. Had this rolled over or dumped, it's long the alts, keep it going. Bitcoin's ranging. It's going to be a party. Dominance breaks down. ETH BTC rallies, blah, blah, blah. But we didn't. We broke out. So I have to change my thesis. The market gave me something different, so I have to adjust accordingly, according to my plan. And my plan is not to fight, reality. If Bitcoin's going to go ham, then typically the way that will affect the alts is that the dominance will begin to trend back up. And especially altcoins that have all of these sort of, I don't want to say weak hands baked in, but like there's a lot of sellers in this rally here. If you look at ADA, the sellers disappeared down here. That's why we had a bottom. And now we've rallied, let's see.
I think Cote's only down 95% now from the highs.
Yeah. Which one's that?
I'm just saying in general, a lot of these 2017 alts, like, yeah, impressive rallies, but, compare that against the highs, it's like a lot of work to do.
He's still got a little work to do, and it's not going to be a straight shot. We're going to have some cool offs, and that's going to be, I've heard it referred to as the washing machine, right? Where it's just, it's up. We FOMO in, crush it back down, we sell back out, FOMO it back up. And that's the washing machine cycle of the market to fully clean it up so it's ready for the actual bull, the real bull. So we've enjoyed some really nice gains here. And for example, ADA right here, I love 1200 support. If we were sliding in, we had some bullish divergence on the MACD. No signs of structure just yet. So I actually did front run I think the hourly gave me a little structure to work with last night right here. So I actually got long. And then with today's Bitcoin breakout, I was like, screw it. I'm just going to cut it. I have no reason to sort of try to guess at this right now. And if there is going to be a buy the dip, if there is going to be a washout of altcoins, there's a very good chance, high probability, it's not going to be nice and easy, right? It's not going to be like, hey, look, there was one day of dips and I'm a champ and I bought it and now it's like rocket to the moon. It's probably going to wash out the first one or two waves of dip buyers. And so you've got to look for these kinds of supports down below and then match that up against Bitcoin on the higher time frame. Let's go back to that weekly and start to get a feel for when I want to start being aggressive again with my altcoins. And as I've pointed out here, there's quite a few things coming up quite a bit higher for Bitcoin. Really like 14K, 15K, 16K, get up into this arc, even up at 16.2. If we get up into there, what do you think this chart's going to look like, right? Probably something like this, right? And by there, and the sickest part is like, that's not that bearish. I mean, from here it is. But if you look at the higher time frames, I mean, this is the daily. That's ADA having a nice big coming out party, consolidating, shaking out, washing out, putting in a base, buyers step back in. Smart money who's been distributing, right? So it's just standard price action. And so spotting that kind of stuff ahead of time, if it's going to happen, it's not guaranteed. But thinking about these things now so that I don't decide I'm going to cut my bag because it went down 40%. I'm going to cut it at almost break even, or in this case, it was just a little bit of a loss. But some other alts that I had that were doing really well. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take profit because Bitcoin looks like it wants to go a little hairy. And there's going to be some exceptions. We'll talk about that today. Like TRX has quite a few catalysts this month. And I actually think Justin Sun could probably rally this thing right up. As you can see, I got my pump chaser fib on. I'm trying to catch it. So there's a few coins I think they could sway this, but the bottom line is Bitcoin looks like it just woke up. And for someone like me who likes to stay light on their feet and jumping in and out of positions, definitely a little bit over tradey. I will admit that. I've stepped out of a few that ended up running, but I don't take big hits. I take plenty of small hits and still manage to bang out some larger plays. But when I see Bitcoin weekly looking like this, and then the day today kind of confirming that breakout from 12, I start to think about how can I protect my capital, get on the train, because as much as people want to scoff and say, oh, I can't believe you sold your altcoins today, they're down 10%. It's like, well, if we're about to shift that whole trend, dude, the people who saw it coming today, if it comes, going to look like geniuses in about a month. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's the big difference between great traders and people who lose money consistently. It's reactionary versus being proactive with your positioning ahead of time. And I really like your dominance chart. It really does give a more macro perspective on where things are going to go, rather than just people really zoomed into their one coin and not really having a perspective of the broader market.
Yeah, and that's why I put this thing together, was so that I could use it as a bit of a weather gauge or a forecast. And right now, again, it's still in the risk on window. This is just a bounce day, so I don't want to go raising too many alarms, but I want to make sure that when these things come up in my mind as a trader, that I'm sharing that and conveying that on stream, because a big part of making money in the market is not just being correct in your analysis and having a setup that works and taking it, but also being, your timing. So as you say, being maybe proactive versus reactive. And if you're waiting, I just think there's a lot of people in this market right now who would sell their alts. And they all have their different pain thresholds, right? Are they going to sell when their first little tick down stops them out, if they had a stop loss? Are they going to sell after a week and 20% drop when the Bitcoin maximalists come out and start saying, ha ha ha, you guys got scammed again, all coins are worthless? Or is it going to take 70, 80% shakeout? I mean, nothing is nice and easy in crypto, guys. All coins are basically just a leveraged product. So I'm not calling the big bear on them. I'm saying, but Bitcoin's waking up here. That does not make me feel easy about 80% exposure to altcoins. Hell no.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my big opening rant today. Having said that, it's not really about run for the hills and hold on your butts and grab your Bitcoin and pray. There are very strategic and great ways where we can play this, so that when it's all said and done, instead of our stop losses getting hit, instead of our positions getting washed out of the market, we could be filling. And I'll go back to this again because it's just too perfect an example, and it's one that obviously I traded, so it's stuck in my memory. There was that big breakup back on June 1st when Bitcoin, I can show you real quick, it was right here when Bitcoin first jumped up on June 1st to about 10.3, and everyone thought, okay, it's breaking out, it's going for it. Well, on that day, altcoins took a big dump, and I was lucky enough to have drawn up my fib, had set my bids on AGI because I liked this breakout level. I wanted it to get the retest. So on the day when everyone else was panicking and a lot of people were getting their stops washed, I got a fill. And so I don't do that every time, but I sure as hell want to be hunting for that now. So thinking ahead, I don't think today's Bitcoin breakout was that violent. In fact, I'm kind of shocked how vanilla it was given the significance of this level. I would have thought maybe a little more, but we'll see, because if it does continue on, we're going to get some really sick opportunities to fill on bids on some of our favorite alts. As you can see, AGI has gone well away from my buy zone, and so I want to pull up some other alts today. I'm going to flip back over to you, Nick, and I'll go dive into some of these charts I wanted to pull up. Sure. Draw up some levels early on for some alts that maybe we can, be thinking about setting some price alerts and bids on over the next few days and weeks.
Yeah, I think the next thing I want to talk about is influencer pumping. This is something that we've seen, going back all the way to 2013, 2014. A lot of private groups, 10, 20 people in them, and they would just, the strategy, buy up some supply, accumulate, and then get it out there via social media and stuff. It's a little bit more sophisticated now, especially in the DeFi space with these Uniswap coins. You see a lot of the stuff taking place now on 4chan, Reddit, obviously still here on Twitter. But it's beginning to scale. Like, with Elon Musk tweeting with Dogecoin, that thing sent it flying. But now this really volatile character, the Barstool's president, Dave Portnoy, I just butchered his name, but he had a recent visit with the Winklevoss twins. He's apparently on board in the Bitcoin, the crypto markets. He sees how easy it is to move these markets. So today, he's rolling out the tweets with Bitcoin, 12K, OXT. Guys, these are just straight pump and dumps, right? Like, he's filling his bags down here, his friends here, and then this is when he's tweeting it out. This is you buying his bags, right? Sure enough, how far is this retrace down?
Looks like a pump chaser fib.
50% over the last little while, right? So these aren't things that you want to chase. It's just stick with the technicals on the entries and exit strategies that we've been kind of sharing with Wyckoff theory. But this is the trend that I think is going to accelerate. Dave's probably one of the first ones to get into it. But I think we're going to see similar to what we saw in 2018 with the ICOs being promoted by celebrities. It's only a matter of time until this gets the same treatment. And I think the celebrity influencer, it's been kind of decentralized. Like, you don't need to be Kim Kardashian or Kanye West to have a similar impact. There's plenty of just average people on TikTok with a few million followers, and same thing on Instagram, right? If people get into these markets because they're more accessible now, especially through Robinhood and apps like that, we're going to see a lot more of this stuff. So you could set up maybe some scrapers on social media. That could be a way to harvest some alpha, or through TikTok or something if you're tech savvy. But for the average trader, don't chase these. Just stick with your setups that you've already had planned with a trade plan. This is just it's too risky. You're going to get caught offside. But something I wanted to bring attention to. Quickly, want to take a quick look at the majors, because I think how the majors in the with the commodities are behaving gives a really good indication of the fundamental backdrop that the world is currently in. If we have precious metals doing really, really well, I think the biggest news to come out of this week was Warren Buffett buying gold. He's been a huge, not an advocate for gold, but really, he also dumped his bank stocks. He's citing the inflation. This is the first time that we've seen Warren Buffett say, what we've been doing for the past 12, 15 years with massive debt inflation, can this go on? This is the first time he's questioned it, right? So really interesting shift in narrative. There's going to be a lot of people that follow this guy that'll probably change their own views. And you can see here, we talk about Wyckoff all the time, just this staircasing market. Look at this. All-time high is 1940. Look where the weekly supported. Right on the all-time highs. That's incredibly bullish to be flipping this level to support, right? So at this point, what are you going to do? You're just going to set an alarm at the very bottom of this candle at 1850. As long as we're above this level, all good. This thing's about to rally back up to 2000 and beyond. Similarly, in the
would you say Bitcoin or gold is maybe a gateway drug to Bitcoin in that sense?
Well, I think the investor bases are completely different, really. I think the younger generation is definitely, on board with the digital gold. I think a lot of, from my own experience talking with a lot of gold people, they're, in their later years, retirement years, they may not have as deep as understanding of Bitcoin. So teaching an old dog new tricks, it's usually, it can be tough. So do I think there's going to be a rush of, traditional gold investors looking at Bitcoin? I think some are, maybe the younger ones, but I think the old fund managers, I think they're going to be a little slow there. Buffett's not in Bitcoin or anything right now either. But again, with the silver, we're still looking at that $32 range. I think it's only a matter of time until we hit this with the way inflation's looking. And also the big news that nobody's talking about is that the banks are now contracting their lending. In a debt-based economy where growth is basically stimulated through the creation of and distribution of credit, if we don't have that, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more deflation happening than inflation right now. But again, inflation of the money supply and inflation of goods and services, completely different. We've already seen some goods and service inflation ticking up, but we just haven't seen that in the M2 money supply yet. nor do I think we will see that for a while. But quickly taking a look back at the S&P 500, once this thing goes, I'm expecting a pretty significant rally here. This is going to be great for digital assets. When the stock market's booming, crypto's been generally booming as well. Had a pretty strong correlation from March to April there. I don't see a reason why that would change right now. Everything's lining up. Once this breaks, we could shoot up 3,500, and if we come back and retest this level and it flips to support, wow, back up the trucks, load the boats, because this thing it hopefully builds a base above this, and we could go on a really sustained rally. The only concern is obviously the election in a couple months. We had extreme volatility around that in the last cycle, expecting the exact same thing here. So going to be keeping a pretty close eye on that. And especially now, since the crypto markets, they're correlating a little bit more with traditional assets. Probably going to have a very volatile time for crypto as well. So far, I don't think Biden campaign has really said much about crypto or Bitcoin or their stance on digital currency. So we don't really know what angle they'd be taking there. With Trump, they seem pretty benevolent with it right now. So that's kind of what we're looking at there.
All right. Well, with gold flipping, I might have to get back over to my SimpleFX account and try to get some longs going. I haven't traded this gold at all yet.
Yeah, it's just one of those. It's one of those markets. It can be pretty tough to get into a position. You kind of have to be patient. It moves so slowly comparative to crypto. But again, the trend is it's clearly back to 1850 or something. As long as that supports, I'd be a buyer there. But I personally don't think we're going to be seeing that level this week or next week, just because of the price reaction that we're monitoring here at the former all-time highs. Looks like, if anything, it's going to be another up week.
Yeah, no, that's the vibe I get. Just a quick glance at the chart. I'm going to move over to KLP, which is funny because this is actually one that we talked about almost a month ago when they weren't trading, and they just started trading on Qtrade.
This is the Polkadot POW coin, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to see if I can get F11. No. Let's see if I can cover up my tabs.
I can speak a little bit about this market.
Yeah, let's take a look at
this one. Yeah, this is it's an ecosystem that I'm looking at investing in pretty actively right now. I just think interoperability, that's cross-chain communication. So different technologies talking to different technologies across the river. I think that's the future for this space. Don't tell Bitcoin maximalists that. They only care about sound money, et cetera, et cetera. But for this one, it's very difficult, again, to enter these positions in these low liquidity, especially on Qtrade, right? Like, I think this is their still number one market. There's still miners actively dumping this thing, right? So the strategy here is just set stink bids, and just collect the miner dumps. There's also obviously OTC discords as well. But just looking at the chart, it looks strong. I can say that there's a lot of funds that are taking interest in this project, as well as other layer 2 Polkadot projects. So I think this one could be a really good runner.
Yeah, now I saw, it was actually on the weekend we were talking. Remember, you said anything under 2,000 is a good bid. And I actually had an alarm on my phone. I was like, okay, go check out, sign up for Qtrade, go buy some. Yeah. That was on Saturday. I got that alert and I didn't do it. I just was like, yeah, well, maybe tomorrow. And that's a habit of mine where I just tell myself to buy stuff at certain whatever, and then I don't get around to it. And then on yesterday, much to my chagrin, I saw a guy tweeting about it on Twitter. Basically said this one's going to melt faces, blah, 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 Polkadot angle, da-da-da-da-da. He's got 16,000 followers, and I think they all went and signed up that day. So it has decided to move away. I had a friend actually buying OTC off the miners in the 500 sat range before it was even live on Qtrade. So he's laughing today. I think you were talking about anything under 2,000, so you're probably having a good chuckle right now. Yep. And when I look at this, I don't see any pullback just yet. Obviously, this looks a lot more bullish. If we push up through this high, it is likely going to run. So you really got to ask yourself, if you want to trade or invest or speculate on this thing, what is your goal? What is your time horizon? And what is your risk tolerance? If you put 1% of your portfolio into this thing, you don't have to have a stop loss. You're risking the full 1%. You're staying within your parameters. You can just laugh it off and come back at Christmas and see if you made some money. If you want to trade this thing with a little more size, then you're going to have to find some kind of setup that allows you to get the fuck out if you decide you're wrong, if you have an invalidation level. So right now that invalidation is here, but that's like 5 hours ago we were down there. So I mean, I'm not comfortable with this one personally at this level. I feel like since I missed this 2000 breakout, I now need to give it a little time and let it sort of decide what it wants to be. And we are up into that short RLZ kind of area. Sorry, this is a gross fib. It's not my templated trading view one, but I think this one looks ready to run. Again, my style would be to find a setup. I don't see it here, but it does look really bullish, and I think it's still somewhere sub 10 million market cap. I think the tweet that went out yesterday, he gave it a 6, so I'm guessing we're up somewhere around 10 right now, or 8 or 9, 10. So definitely an interesting looking project, something I want to learn more about. And because it is only on Qtrade, you can imagine the liquidity will improve with some new listings, and if it's Polkadot approved, that's likely going to age quite well. Speaking of Polkadot, I know that you have a real good handle on what's going on over there. Can you share with us any insights? Because I think Polkadot, it sounds like it's a funny name, right? It doesn't sound like some super pro high whatever. Like the name,
it's based off of
Polkadot, but I think it's going to dominate the narrative as soon as it launches, and it's going to become the new FOMO theme right along with DeFi. Like, tell us why. What the hell's so special about Polkadot?
Well, basically, it's a relay network for other chains. So same thing like Moonbeam is doing similar things. Essentially, like if a lot of if Ethereum, for example, it's experiencing a lot of bloat right now due to the DeFi stuff. So if you have a game product, say like ETH versus Mana, or anything like that, or any other game. I think there's another good game called Dusk coming out on there as well. I saw it getting beta tested, and it has like a lot of microtransactions that incurs a lot of transactions by nature. So that if you have a very expensive cost on those transactions, it prohibits gameplay, right? So utilizing, if sharding isn't out, Ethereum 2 is not out, there's no path to scalability for the next couple quarters. You don't want to stint your growth just because of that. So Polkadot's basically, it can take transactions, it can take, at least Moonswap, it can take the transactions and batch them on another chain and like kind of store them, and then it'll broadcast them, once it has a certain threshold of transactions in one transaction. So it reduces the costs on all these microtransactions, batches it into one transaction, and then broadcasts it, and then it all gets settled and all that good stuff. So that's why I think. That's just one use case, right? But the point is that it's going to enable developers on other platforms to remain on those platforms if you still want to stay on top of Ethereum blockchain, but not necessarily be at the mercy of the bloat of the network. So that's why I think this stuff's going to be huge. There's a lot of DeFi integrations coming in. Like I think DeFi is just going to be across every chain at this point. I think it's pretty obvious. It's proven itself. Well, it's proving itself. It's only been around for a couple of years. But yeah, with Polkadots, there's a lot of investment coming into this space. Obviously on protocol layer 1, it's had a increase. The pre-sale price was around $35. It's already 10x. It hit 300. I think it came pretty close to $400, sitting around 320 right now. So you got Moonbeam, you got PokaSwap. There's Kusama is another big one. There Akala.
KSM is one that you've been trading as well, right?
Yeah, KSM. I got in there pretty early.
Ooh, it's in the
under $100.
It's tickling the pump chaser zone right now.
Yeah, like I'm pretty close with the teams there and the funds that all invested in it. They all have governance tokens and all that good stuff. I mean, I'm just super bullish on that space. Like they could be the backbone of interoperability across this entire ecosystem. Very kind of similar to what Cosmos is trying to do in that sense. And Cosmos, they've had a lot of great layer 2 applications built on top of them. I think Rune's there, Near Protocol. Keep Network. Yeah, there's a lot of good things coming out there, but it's pretty clear the main point takeaway is that interoperability is the future. So investing in the protocols that enable that is probably a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
And so I'm just taking the exact same theory that I used with the Cosmos network and applying that to Polkadot. So, a good strategy is to identify the funds that are investing in that space. You can use Crunchbase, for example. You can find out when who invested in what valuation, all that good stuff, and just piggyback them. Right? They're not all going to be winners, but there's the strategy is if you pepper your bets, say 0.1 BTC across 100 different assets. Some of those assets are going to have 100, 200x gains, and it's going to balance your losses. Not every project is going to make it, but if you just follow this strategy of just following the institutional, quote unquote institutional crypto hedge funds and stuff, they put a lot of research into these teams. They do a lot of due diligence work on the tokenomics. Sometimes they'll even work with them to revamp it. Those are the projects and teams you want to be getting behind. Obviously, there's a huge resurgence of like Anon developers, and I'm not against Anon developers. Like, they do great work. I just think that if you really want to scale a project in this space right now, having a name and people can know what your background is. Can you deliver on this product? Right? It's pretty important.
Yeah, and it's a perfect sort of, always going back to the tools I use to trade, and in this case, the pump chaser fib. And this is why I created it. This is why I initially just came up with it for myself, because I know when you first told me about KSM, it had just broken out, and I thought, well, I'm a savvy trader. I don't buy pumps, so I'll have to wait. And then because I'm also a busy guy and a savvy trader, I missed this bullish throwback, which was really nice. And then I just thought, screw it, whatever. On to the next one. There's so many opportunities. But looking here, as you're talking, this thing peaked August 10th, dumped nicely, got a nice buy up, and is now just chilling in pump chaser zone, right in the 382.5 channel. And if we zoom in even a little more on this 4 hour, you can actually see a confirmation of bullish market structure where you have your low, you have your higher low. I mean, they're all just kind of the same lows, but either way, you put in that little bottom. And we've just broken through, come up and retested. So I'm actually keen on this KSM. As far as, like you say, I don't have to go crazy. I don't have to get it perfect, but I do want to have some exposure. And I do think that Polkadot and Polkadot everything, just like DeFi everything, just like exchange token everything, and just like platform token everything in 2017, they all get their runs. I think seeing the DeFi wave coming first, like you kind of did with your newsletters back in the spring, talking about how it's going to be big, and they've gone up a bit, but they're going to keep going. And frankly, they may still keep going from here. But seeing these kind of waves coming in advance is the play. And I really do think that we've been talking about it a lot off stream. And today's a good day to just touch on Polkadot, figure out what the hype is. And
it's launching tomorrow, like literally in less than 24 hours. Is it launching tomorrow?
Oh my God. And it's going to, it's going to be like Atom, right? Where it's just on like 20 major exchanges on day one.
I can confirm that.
So it is launching tomorrow. You heard it here first. Polkadot is coming in hot, and everything associated with it is likely to do well. So I actually may, not financial advice, but I'm personally going to probably go dive onto some KSM sometime after the stream, because it's on Huobi. Not my favorite place to trade, but I got an exchange.
One of the biggest, highest volume exchanges, though, and like Huobi,
it's not a bad
just snuck up on people. Nobody talks about it, but look at the volumes. Like, it speaks for itself.
Yeah, we got a bit of a fractal going on here, a pump chaser fib within a pump chaser fib. So this level is gorgeous. I would probably, again, because of course I started the show off today by talking. Now this is KSM versus Tether, though. So if Bitcoin rallies big time, this could easily flatline if the Bitcoin pair gets beat up, or it could even rise with it. Let's see, just for the sake of overanalyzing, let's see how the Bitcoin pair is. Yeah, so if Bitcoin does that big rip face move, I would imagine this pair will suffer a bit versus Bitcoin. That's just the nature of the forces of the market. So, hey, some stink bids down in the RLZ here would likely age well, I think, as a first opportunity. We've got this sort of breakout level here, pretty clear. You can see structure. And we even had that nice bullish retest. I mean, God, this
Oh my
stuff's
God,
so
it kind
easy.
of looks like a cup and handle.
It's so easy to do this stuff in retrospect, right? It's like, oh, that was the perfect entry, of course. But coming back down and plunging down here, if there's a little alt sell-off, this is the KSM Bitcoin pair. That could be an opportunity. But as far as just like, hey, let's just take, maybe I'm going to just run over there, take a small position that I can put full risk on, that I don't have to worry about. Oops. That looks like it's on KeyCoin now too. I want the Huobi one. Yeah, like maybe, I'll just throw like a losable amount over here, something that I don't even need a stop loss on. That is, 0.5%, 1% of my account, just stuff it in there, because with the Polkadot narrative launching tomorrow, I don't know, I don't know how this one doesn't get a continuation. And we've got an ABCD right up to $18. We've got a fib extension up into the low 20s. And if it gets real hairy, we might even have a chaos level from this consolidation that would take us quite a bit higher, up into the $29. And I'm not going to rule that kind of shit out. I mean, it just looks like a natural progression of what we've already been seeing. So shout out to KSM. I'd have to look in more specifically what the project does, but mostly, do I even have to? If I think there's a lot of time, we were talking about it today, like there's a lot of time spent reading up on these projects, when the bottom line is you just have to understand their narrative, how they fit into the market dynamic.
Exactly.
And in this case, I think it would be wasted reading time, as long as I know they're not a complete scam.
No, they got a good solid team behind them. Like, one of the co-founders of Polkadots is the founder of KSM, manages that.
Yeah, no, exactly. So is there any other Polkadot proxy coins that are trading just on a whim here that we could fire up on?
Probably not a lot, since like the tokens aren't even transferable yet.
Like dots for sure, but like, is there any other projects? I know I've heard of a couple. Isn't like ORN? That's maybe not Polkadot related, but I keep hearing about it.
ORN. I think that's Orion. I think that's Orion Network.
Yeah, it's Orion. I might be way off here. Orion Protocol might just be another sexy project I keep hearing about. I don't own any of this, never have, but I thought for some reason, no, I don't think this is. It's cool looking though. It's not Polkadot. I would love to know what other. I mean, there's a ton of these private sale OCC things flying along in some of the groups that I'm in about, this is going to be Polkadot this, Polkadot that. I don't know that there's too many that are trading.
No, a lot of them are pre-launch.
Zor. Eric says Zor. OM.
XOR.
As well. What's OM? Hombre. Yeah, I remember Zor, because this thing went like 600x since June. I was tweeting about it the other day, because I was just like, cannot believe that. It's pretty intense, exciting. Should probably pull it up on here. Let's just see Zor. I mean, I can't say anything about this as far as buying goes after this kind of move, but holy shit. I mean, what a rally from the lows to the highs. If you're a perfect trader, this thing was like 3-something 100x. That's 200x. But if you zoom in real close and get this right near the lows, and it actually sat, I zoomed in because I like to dissect things after they happen quite a bit. But yeah, it sat down. I mean, obviously this is whatever. That's crazy weirdness. But as far as like RLZs go, though, guys, look at this. I can already see it. Just gorgeous. If you can really come with a patient approach, not really listen to what everyone's buying and watch leaderboards, you'll find this shit so often. Look at this. Zor broke out, got real quiet. No one cared about it. Selling off, boredom, breakout, retest, and fucking moon. So looking back, I mean, it's always really easy to do in retrospect, but there's like literally anywhere you look on any given day, there's some coin doing this. And when you find it in this kind of a zone after a move, your risk is very small. You can frame it so beautifully. So if you guys watch this stream every day, I apologize. I'll probably be a broken record in some regard, but frame your risk. Get in at these kinds of fib levels And, you know, your 3-to-1 RR is like here. And you ended up obviously having quite a bit more. So another example of this kind of breakout, and it's uncanny how often it just slides down in here. And I bet if we pulled it up, there would be a divergence to go with it to show that not only was it going down into that RLZ, but the momentum was slowing, giving you a sense that it might be ready to reverse. Let's see. I have to go to a 4-hour to get a better read. So as it's coming down, you can see here on the MACD. Actually, no, you can't. Let me pull that up a little higher. Okay, so as you can see here, the price made a lower low. It's losing. It's a loser. Get out, right? But no, if you look internally, the MACD made a higher low on that same move, suggesting that the momentum, the speed, the velocity of that down move was slowing, ready to reverse. And just like you look for market structure and price, you can look for market structure in a MACD. And this, because it's the middle of that W or that structure, this becomes your breakout. And that was right here. And it aged pretty well. So again, easy to look like a genius when you just look back at something like this. You could do it all day. They happen almost at the start of every major breakout. There's something like that. So the key is learning how to spot it and hunting it yourself. But if you hunt primarily by searching Twitter and finding things online and listening to other people, it's very hard to catch those levels. You're going to catch, you're going to hear about it when it's here or here. So we'll do our best to bring you those while they're happening on the show so we can all get in at those RLZs, which is something I need to work on. I'm actually really bad at positioning myself in my own trades.
We spent so much time developing this content for everybody.
Well, I'll show you a perfect example. So here's our ideas board. We've got 3 up in the last month. So like here's Qtum. Look at this thing. So, the thesis was that in August it would do pretty well because they had, the mainnet fork and all this stuff coming up at the end of the month. And it just seemed like one that would help it stand out. It was consolidating at this resistance. I actually did mess around with a little bit and like flip-flopped a bit. And like, anyways, again, focusing on content, focusing on doing other jobs. And look at this thing.
Press play. Here we go.
Like, did I trade it? No. Was it there for everyone else to trade? Sure. Gave us like 3 days to get in. Another example. Let's see, BAT. BAT's the most recent one. I think it might have retraced a bit today, but same kind of thing, right? Waiting for that 28-cent close. Got it. Came back down, washed out the eager bulls, did the usual little retest, and bing, we're off. So big pullback today. Nothing like, it's not closed yet, but the trade is on its way. And I think it could get up into that 45-cent area if this thing plays out the way it was meant to. And I think there was one other, of course, Atom maybe was here. Yeah.
Atom's performing really well right now.
So Atom, same kind of thing, right? Getting that structure right in the RLZ, waiting for that confirmed bullish MACD divergence, breaking out right here. Hey, Laura, good afternoon, good evening, good to see you, brother. We got Laura Martins over on TradingView. And so after this breakout on Atom, I thought, we'd been talking about it on Twitter for actually a month or so before this, but I thought, okay, got to get this on TradingView. And bing, right into the target, retested support, and actually made new highs again recently. So, point being, as much as you're going to see a lot of us like dissecting this shit in the past, it is actually possible to spot it in the future. And then the key is, and I cannot stress this enough, you must have a plan, you must know what you're doing, and you must trust what you're doing, because it's very hard to hold a position when you just got the position from someone else, right? When you ask a trader, what's your setup? Just tell me what the thing is, and I'll just copy it. And they say, well, it doesn't work like that. You really got to kind of craft your stuff. Hopefully watching and interacting with us here on the stream is going to help. And you can start to spot these things. And if you're ever feeling lack of confidence or you're just not sure, then paper trade it. I think TradingView even has a paper trade feature right on it. Right?
They did. They got it all.
You can connect to your broker. You can paper trade. I believe it's off the bottom here. Strategy tester. I don't know. I found it before, kind of off top of my head. I'm not sure I'd find it, but there's a paper trade feature right on here. And I think it has to be on a different chart. Let's go Coinbase. But the point of that is to test your ideas, right? You want to drop 10 G's in the market and say you're going to turn it into 100K? Well, prove it. And why take the risk of trying to prove it with real money? Put your real hard-earned money to work when you could paper trade, take that 10K paper, turn it into 20K, be disciplined, prove to yourself you can do it, learn this shit, and then you're coming in with real money and you're confident your mistakes are going to be greatly reduced. So that's my rant for the day. Good time to short Link. Nick, what do you think?
I've given up on trying to short the Marine camp, especially with fucking the influencer Dave there tweeting it out the other day as well.
Yeah, he's big on that. Let's pull up Link because I think I'd like to take a look at it personally. I mean, it can't go on forever, can it?
Well, that's what they said about Bitcoin. Here we are.
I'm not in the mood to short Link. I think if there's a market here with 1,400 assets plus, and you can long or short either of them, shorting Link doesn't strike me as the top 10, 100, or even 500 idea.
I had to bring up that quick point about assets. Today there's over 6,400 different cryptocurrencies, 26,000 markets. There's always something to be trading.
Yeah, that's the thing. So if you approach it from that sort of grander perspective, where, okay, I have this capital and I need to put it to work somewhere. I want to make it grow. So I've got to be very selective and I've got to find a way where I think I can capture volatility on the right side of it. So, I'm going to take my long and then I'm going to close it here and I capture the profit in the middle of that move. If I look around the whole market right now, Link is the most bullish thing. Why would I short that one? Right? There's some really, and I don't know any offhand. I'd have to find them, but there's definitely some. Actually, I do know one, BQX. There's one here that has had a really nice rally, and it looks soft as fuck. It looks like it has to come back down. I don't know if this is the entry that I would take. Let's just say BQX. Saw it before the stream, Voyager. And I was going to talk about it sort of in the lens of, let me flip back over to screen share here.
Wow. I think if Link were to break 18.1, that'd be the first bearish price action we've seen. It'd be a support resistance fail.
Yeah, no, I think I would like to pull up Link because as much as it's not something I'm rushing to short, I'm not even watching it. I'm like, let it go be a bull. I missed my long and that's fine. And, I'll just let it do its thing. Because tops do come in always, like they always will, because it'll always go too far eventually. And then the market will have to correct itself. But I'm not in a rush to call that day, but I would like to look at it. But real quick, I'm going to just pull up BQX here. Just want to make sure that I am full screen and ready to go so y'all can see what I'm talking about. Now this one, and we will do a comparison with Link. Okay, so here we are with BQX. And I don't know a thing about this coin, so don't hate on me if this is one of your babies and you're in the community. I'm not trying to hate, but we've got some, we made a high, but the MACD completely rolled over. The momentum stopped. So for now, this one, especially if Bitcoin's about to rip face like we talked about, this is the kind of thing where, it might look like the sky's falling, but at the end of the day, it just ends up being normal price action coming back and down into that RLZ. And so this, to me, definitely looks on the weaker side as far as something that has rallied. Haven't heard anything about it, so I don't particularly know why it was rallying or whatever. Sure, there's a good story there, and I bet it is going to change the world. But for now, we've got bearish market structure after a bearish confirmed divergence. Broken down, actually got that retest fill today. So yeah, if I'm looking for shorts, I don't know who asked that question. And Trick, if I look at Link and then I look at this and I say, well, which one do I feel like more confident about shorting? Maybe that one. I just, again, off the top of my head, because there's probably even better shorts out there somewhere. But we're in a bull. So let's just start the conversation there. This is a bull market. I'm generally just looking for longs. But let's look at Link. Let's actually copy this. I want to get a nice naked chart, and let's pick apart Link for a sec.
Yeah, I can do a quick screen share on that one. Put something together here.
Yeah, we'll both do it. We are getting near the top of the hour. Let's both pull up a Link chart and see if we can see anything. I don't know that I see any reasons right off the top of my head to short here, but let's take a look.
No, like what I'm seeing right now is just, it's kind of flagging out.
The momentum is rising. Yeah, there's no divergence on the MACD. In fact, the momentum's increasing. It's overbought on a bunch of stochastics, but of course it is. It's in a rip-roaring bull, and that doesn't really mean it has to roll over.
Yeah, and that's the big misconception about Stokes is that, people assume that once it's pinned to the top, oh yeah, this thing's overbought, it's about to roll over. No, not necessarily, because the Stoke measures momentum over a set period of time, right? It's a lagging indicator. And when you have a really strong trending market, those things can stay pinned for a very long time. Like, yeah, you're going to get more oscillations on shorter time frames, obviously, but you can use those rather than trying to pick out a top. Those are going to be mainly for entries. That's what I'm going to be using those for. So if I have a bullish market here, for example, like in Link, I wouldn't be looking, this is a 4 hour. You can see that the rollovers here on the Stoke, they haven't given great short entries. If anything, they've just been resets of the intraday momentum, and they give you entries, right? So, you put this out to we'll say a weekly, maybe once this thing starts to turn down, so a cross below that 80 threshold, then we can start going back to these lower time frames and using the Stokes for tops, right? But until we see that momentum shift on the high time frames, the lower time frame Stokes are going to be for entries rather than looking for that top. So again, this thing's been overbought for fucking look at that, since April, right? So have fun shorting your overbought Link at 350.
Well, I think, and the way I've been taught is you can, they're great tools. You can use them, but never just themselves, right? When you have all these tools, you have location, you have momentum indicators like looking for divergence. You can have market structure and price. Accumulating a number of those different unrelated reasons for a trade is the real alpha. Just trying to be like, well, it's overbought, so it must go down. No, you need to see some confirmation in price. And again, in a world of how many assets and how many opportunities we have to take capital, right? Assuming we're just sitting in fiat, and how are you going to put it into the market in a position where it will go up in value, or if you're in a short, go down in value and make you money, and then get back to your fiat, like living in that sort of base, wherever that is for you, if that's an altcoin or if that's Bitcoin, if that's Tether. Are you going to deploy it on shorting this thing? Like, yeah, you might call the top, but for the last 2 months, you've been getting blown up. I don't know. I've actually, it's, and you're not alone. And Trick is, if you're wondering, like, well, like a lot of people are trying to short Link. That's been the liquidity on that side of the market for a while.
It's been the meme of the community with Zeus Capital getting liquidated.
So I don't know. I think there's a lot of better places to risk money in the market right now than shorting the most bullish asset.
Yep. Go throw it at some pre-sales.
If it does roll over, there's going to be an opportunity to short it, because when you have a bull this strong, the dip buyers are going to step in, and that's why you get those sort of ABC corrections, right? Maybe Nick, you could draw that up real quick. Actually, I've got it right here on my screen. So, if this just say was to roll over here, made a lower high, broke down, you could say, okay, the top is in. It happened here and it turns out it wasn't, but you could argue at that point, I've got my market structure, and then, and only then, would I be thinking about a short entry, and it would be something like this, where I find that initial like low, so you get that big dump, says, okay, the short is on. And then I'd be watching for something like this. And that's that dip buying crowd. And then the bears step in and it fails. Right?
Yeah.
So it's that bearish throwback that is the short, not shorting new highs, shorting new highs, shorting new highs. Because where do you risk to? There's nowhere to risk, right? Let the asset, and this is not about like how to short link. That's a ridiculous thing to teach right now, because my whole point is don't. At least I'm not going to. But when I want to short something, I let the top come in. I let that lower high come in. I let it fail. And then I just hunt for those throwbacks, and they happen all the time. And I'm going to pull up Ren because it was a beautiful example of this. And then the best part is we even gave it a target for where to close and maybe rebuy. And now it's just blasting through again. So it's beautiful. But let's see. Perfect example here on Ren. There was a short trade that came in where you had the high, you had the low.
Oh, I can see the exact thing right there. It's back in July, the second week of July.
Yeah, this is a little inked since because I keep updating the chart, but let's get rid of a few things here. So, you had the high, you had the lower high, and then we had the market structure fail right here. Okay, and so that is the day where I thought, okay, now I can draw up this fib. I can draw up this fib. Here we go. Right, and then, of course, at this time, this is all you would see. And so that was your market structure fail. So, and I just thought, okay, like, cool, man. Ren's gone up a few 100%. This may be time to cool our jets. Let's see if we can take it back down. And the target was this support here for like a nice big kind of SR flip. Was thinking right around there. I think it was 1350 actually. So yeah, just below that. So watch how this played out. And then again, you can check our Twitter. I've been tracking this thing, not for like a haha, look at us, but just as far as like the Ren thread, you can click back through it and you can actually see this progression if you're interested in learning this stuff. And sure enough, let's just do the replay here, maybe a little slower. And so the idea is to look for those bullish, bearish throwbacks. And like that's, oh, I pushed the wrong button there. Let's just do that one more time. I love these replays as far as like trying to teach a point. Really nice tool.
Another great feature of TradingView.
Another top-notch feature on TradingView, the replay. So right here, we'll just play it. So you had that bearish throwback. So even when this broke down, I thought it's time to start thinking about, maybe exiting your bag if you want to increase your bag, right? And then like, look, just refill down at support. Bing, full. And if you are a big fan of Ren, rather than getting salty about somebody like posting that, you could be like, hey, cool, I just increased my bag by 29%. And if I was wrong, and here's the sickest part, and this is why I trade this way. If I'm wrong and I got short here and it just blasts higher, Binance has this. There's a number of API places and exchanges you can use this kind of buy stop order. So if I was wrong here, let's just say I get short at the 786. I'm often more of a sweet spot guy, so I probably would have been down here at the 702. I'm risking having to buy back 8% higher. I am rewarded by getting to buy back 31% lower. So, one example of how you can spot a top and be very patient. This took almost 2 weeks to play out and get that, park those asks. And if they don't fill, they don't fill, right? It just gets away from me, whatever. And now it's blasting off to new highs, which is also something we've been following here as it just broke through this trend line and flipped it and then right up into here. So yeah, going back to Link, I mean, do you see any of that?
Oh yeah.
Nothing, right? We have a high. We have a high. Let's see if we can, if I'm really keen to short this thing, let's see about that lower high and that fail. And then we'll start thinking about that short RLZ.
Yeah.
So those are my thoughts on Link. Don't touch it. Don't short it. Stay away. Not financial advice. So yeah, anyone who says TA doesn't work has either found a way to make money without it, and that's great. Power to them. You can definitely find tons of way to make money in the market without TA. But most of the people who say it doesn't work simply don't understand it or haven't figured out how to use it.
It's pattern recognition and math.
Yeah. And I mean, you got to like it, right? I'm fascinated by it. Like all that shit I just described. I mean, it amazes me as much as maybe it amazes someone who's watching. Like Johnny says, this is epic. I'm like, yeah, right? It's sick. It's absolutely sick the way these fibs get their play and then the extensions get their play. I can't get enough of it. So, needless to say, I'm hooked. And, analysis is almost more fun than trading sometimes because you just get to draw the lines and do the fun stuff. You don't necessarily have to sweat any kind of positioning. So,
yeah, if you're basically, it's good mental satisfaction. Like I feel satisfied when my ideas play out. It's like, yes,
absolutely. Yeah, trading is like an opportunity to put your money where your mouth is. Like let that trade play out, and if you size it appropriately, there is no sweat. And if you plan it and vet it, then you don't really have to worry at all because it's just another trade, and it doesn't have to make it's not you don't want to put any pressure on any one trade to change your life. That's my actual advice is don't put so much pressure on yourself. Size things so that if it goes right, it's awesome. You got 3 units. If it goes wrong, that sucks. You lose 1 unit, moving on.
Marathon, not a sprint.
That's right. Treat it like a marathon. Plan to be around for years and assume you will be around for years so that, you're learning or you're taking notes, you're trying new things, and you're not taking big, stupid risks. Because if you end up at the end of a big bull market, absolutely, empty-handed, that's probably more depressing than the bear market we just had. So play safe. And looks like I got my green going on in the background here, but that's just a themed color, as you guys can imagine. So anyways, I think we'll wrap for today. TLDR, Bitcoin looks really bullish. Altcoins are at some level of risk, even though we are generally still trending down in dominance. I would be watching this candle and the follow-up few candles closely, because if Bitcoin decides that it wants control of the market again, which it often does at the time you least suspect, if it moves up into here, altcoins versus Bitcoin will not keep pace. Almost certainly. 97% chance they will not. They might maintain their USD value and you can just chill. But keep an eye out on this one because it's more of an opportunity if you play it correctly rather than a punishment where you have to be like, wow, man, Bitcoin wrecked me. So that's my TLDR for the day. Anything else you want to add here, Nick, before we wrap?
That's pretty much everything. Like I said, keeping an eye on the influencers coming into the space, assessing their network effect in this market. I think it's going to be substantial. Keep an eye on the commodities. I think they're strong. It's really good premise, underlying fundamental premise for Bitcoin. It could these performing really well and inflationary risks. And also, like I said, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of crisis coming up around with the banks tightening on lending and credit contraction and things in the market. And this is all going to be really, really fucking good for cryptocurrency. So yeah, super bullish on that stuff. Going to be keeping a close eye on there. We'll update you. Next issue on Wednesday, we will go through the newsletter, see what's working, what's not, give you kind of a macro overview on that. And you set those alarms, don't chase the prices, and just be patient.
Ooh, Joan says H-bar is breaking out at the moment. Lots of chatter on Twitter about it being a big pumper. Yeah, man, I like H-bar. If you guys have been watching recently, I'm a fan. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that. I'm going to go cook that up. In fact, check out our Twitter at Hxro Labs. I am going to cook up an H-bar chart right now after this stream, and I'll fire it off there for you guys if you're interested in what I have to say about it. So
it's up 16% over the past 3 hours.
Find it there. Yeah, it's moving. So it's but it hasn't yet broken out of its higher time frame structure. So there's still some potential here for a trade, but as of right now, it is pumping. So keeping an eye out for H-bar this week. Have a wonderful night, everybody. And remember, always play from a position of strength.